What's up, Squares? Harold Perkins here with another mortgage Q&A. We've received all of your mortgage questions during the past week and have selected the most interesting ones to answer right here. Best question wins question of the week. Let's go. On one salary, how much should you make to afford a $300,000 house? Good question, but also not enough info. Starting with the easy part, it doesn't matter how many salaries. If you're single, married, or a throuple, as long as the total income supports the house payment, then you and any number of other people will qualify. But there are other factors to consider here too, like how much down payment. A smaller down payment will mean a larger mortgage balance, so the monthly payment will be higher. That will require more income than someone with a large down payment and a smaller mortgage amount. And what about your other debts? Someone with no other debts will need less income to qualify than someone else that maybe has an auto loan, credit card, or student loans. And what about your credit rating? Generally speaking, underwriters will be more lenient on someone with a higher credit score than they would be on somebody with a lower score. So two people with the same salary might qualify for different price homes due to their credit rating. So this might not be exactly the right way to ask the question. Your debt ratios, down payment, and credit rating will determine your monthly payment, which in turn will lead you to the sales price home. Salary by itself does not tell you how much you'll qualify for. With all that said, the very general rule of thumb for the very generally average person is that if you multiply your salary by 4, that's the sales price home that you probably should look for. On average, a person that's purchasing a $300,000 home probably makes about $75,000 a year. Question 2 is a good one too. This person writes, selling my current home has failed, so I'm thinking of pulling it off the market for sale and keeping it to rent out. We think that purchasing a second property will take a lot of out-of-pocket cash and want to know what the level of difficulty in getting approved will be. Well, kind of like the first question, this one is all about income. So if you're buying a house to be your new primary residence, it doesn't matter how many other properties you own, as long as your income supports it. It can be your second, third, or 100th house. It's all about income. But you know, most of us can't afford to make 2 house payments, so that's why you rent out the other house. The tenant is making your other house payment for you. So if you have your current home rented with a signed lease agreement before you close on the new house, the rental income from your current home can be used to offset your current house payment so that it's not counted against you in the qualifying. Yeah, that's right. Even though the tenant hasn't moved in yet and you haven't even received a rent payment yet, Fannie Mae allows that payment to be offset as long as you've provided the signed lease agreement. Now, Fannie Mae has a rule that you cannot have positive rental income in this situation. So if the rent that you're going to receive is more than your mortgage payment, it just washes out the mortgage payment to 0. If the rent that you're receiving is less than your mortgage payment, then only the difference between the rent and the mortgage payment is counted against your qualifying. Now, it also has to be a long-term lease of at least 1 year. So if you're going to Airbnb or some other short-term rental your current home, then none of that rental income counts for you until it's been a short-term rental for at least 1 year. So the only potential challenge for you here is that you were probably planning on using the equity from the sale of your current home as the down payment on the new one. Well, without selling your house, it's more difficult to access that equity. You could do a cash out refinance for some of the equity, or take a home equity line of credit, or just do a small down payment on the new house. There are primary residence loan programs with as little as 3% down, or even 0 down if you're a veteran or if you're in a USDA area. 2 awesome questions so far. So if this information helps you, or if you know somebody that's had similar issues with their mortgage application, please make sure to hit the like button so more people can see videos like this. Also, please make sure to submit your questions too. I'll write you back to answer your questions right away, and the best questions will be in next week's video. And now, the question of the week. It reads, currently in the pre-approval process, our broker sent it into processing Monday and we still haven't heard a word. Is this normal? I'm starting to worry a bit. No, this is not normal. This is bad. But it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your mortgage application. It's bad because the broker has not properly communicated with you. The amount of time that it's been in processing at this point doesn't really bother me. Some companies might be a little bit faster or a little bit slower than others. Maybe your application was a little more complicated, so they're taking their time to be careful. That's totally fine. But to not communicate with you to set the proper expectations is where I take issue. I've made a video about that specifically, and you can watch that here too. Here's past Harold talking about this exact scenario. So what if your pre-qualification experience was bad or you're not comfortable with how it went? Well, no problem. You go back to step 3, you talk to the second person on your list, and you start the pre-qualification process with them. Current Harold still agrees with past Harold. You can expect that the way things go with your pre-approval are going to be the same as the way it goes when you actually have a house under contract. You need to be happy with those results. And if it makes you worry a bit now, imagine how it will feel when it really matters. Have the conversation with your broker now. If the answers are not acceptable to you, then it's time to find another broker to work with. This week's questions were great. Please make sure to ask your questions in the comments below or message me on any of my socials. You can also watch my other Q&A videos right here too. Later, nerds.